or single? Do they have children? What do they do for a living? Can you tell if they even have a job? What about if they're homeless? There's no such thing as a typical homeless person. If you saw me walking down the street, you'd never think that I was homeless. Yeah. When I walked into the shelter for the first time, this is what I was wearing. Jeans, t-shirt, sweater, jacket. And when I left the shelter to start a new life, this is what I was wearing. Jeans, t-shirt, sweater, jacket. The exact same outfit. So how would you know I was homeless? You wouldn't, unless I told you. And it's the same for him, and her, and her, and him. And if we told you, would you treat me any differently? Would you treat them any differently? Would it change your opinion of me? Maybe. Maybe not. What do you think? Jeans, t-shirt, sweater, jacket. A decade ago, I was walking through Lincoln Park with some girlfriends, and as we were looking at some houses, we saw a woman with a grocery cart. She was rolling all of her life's possessions in that cart. And I said to my friends, you know, I'm a whole lot closer to that than I am to living in one of these houses. And a few years later, I was living in a shelter on that same street, LPCS. While it's not quite the same thing, it was close enough. It was just shades of homelessness. A month after leaving LPCS, I was in Los Angeles, and one night we were at this cookie and ice cream shop, and there was a homeless man outside the store. And the only way you could tell he was homeless was the sign that he was holding and his cup that he had to collect money. I gave him a couple of dollars, and we started a conversation. He was from New York City, and he was homeless there. He came to Los Angeles because it was warmer. That's how he survived the winter. And I asked him, why don't you go to a shelter? He said he couldn't handle the rules. He needed the freedom to do whatever he wanted. He didn't want to answer to anyone but himself. You hear that often. And then I told him, I just left a shelter. He stared at me. He couldn't believe it. He never would have known I was homeless unless I told him. And while our stories aren't quite the same, it was close enough. It was just shades of homelessness. Tonight, you'll hear 19 stories of homelessness. None of them are typical, and none of them are exactly the same. Men and women from different backgrounds, north side and south side, city and suburbs, Chicago and elsewhere. Homelessness doesn't discriminate. Homelessness is everywhere. These are the homeless monologues.
My life, it's pretty good now. If you had asked me that 3 years ago, I would not be able to say that. And it's all because of a chance meeting at a park. Yeah, that's where this all begins. That's where I decided to give myself a second chance. The corner of Halsted, Fullerton, and Lincoln. There's this park. It's small but comfortable. A lot of homeless people hang out there. We drink, smoke cigarettes, we pass the time. There's a lot of time to pass when you're living on the streets, a lot of time to fill when you're homeless. One week, I'm sitting on this bench, minding my own business. This woman walks up to me and she says, "Are you homeless?" Those were the 3 words that started the change. She's a case manager for Lincoln Park Community Services. She said those words to me on a Tuesday. By Friday, I had a bed and I was living in a shelter, which felt like the closest thing to living in a home in 17 years. Yeah, I had been living on the streets for 17 years. If you want to call that living. That's in my life between the liquor store or in prison. And living on the streets, it takes a toll on your body. Last winter was rough. I got frostbite, my toes were amputated. But, living in a shelter after living on the streets, it's not easy. I'm not a big fan of following the rules. Imagine being told to be home every day at 7:30. Imagine being told to be in bed by 10:30 every night. Imagine being told to wake up at 6 a.m. every day. Especially after a lifetime of doing whatever you wanted. That was the life I wanted. But if you want your life to change, you have to make adjustments. I spent a couple years at LPCS. I set some goals, went to detox, which was hard after a lifetime of drinking. I reunited with my sister after 27 years. All these things, they were hard. They were hard for me at least. But they're supposed to be hard. Changing your life is supposed to be hard work. But it's worth it. I'm living way up north now. I'd like to come back to the city, but I can't complain. Life is great. And it's all because some woman took the time to ask about me, to care about me at the perfect time. Because if I did not make a change, I was going to die. I had a better life I wanted to live. I had a stronger life I wanted to live. I needed to give myself a second chance.
What does it mean to be aware? You know the answer to that? Let's see if you know the answer. Anyone? Well, to be aware is to be alive. That's the answer. To be aware is to be alive. And sometimes being aware of your surroundings means you get to stay alive. Especially when you're homeless in Chicago. See, I used to sleep on trains and buses. I mean, you've probably seen me there sleeping at some point. See, the trains, they keep you covered. And when you sleep outside, you never know what can go down. At least on the trains, you got the cameras, you got stuff like that. You feel a little more safe when you get falling asleep. Now, in the summertime, I have my go-to spots to sleep in. The more secluded areas with light traffic. And there's like 1,000 parks in Chicago, so yeah, I sleep there too, but only the calm, cool, collected parks. Not those rowdy ones. Man, there's some parks that are loud all day and all night. You can't sleep like that. I mean, if you can, you're cool, but not me. Don't forget about the lakefront. You can sleep there too, but you gotta know how. See, it gets tricky because there's these clowns that walk the lakefront late at night. If they see you sleeping, they can reach down in your pocket. They could even kill you. This is Chicago, right? We know this happens. That's why you gotta stay aware of your surroundings. Because to be aware is to be alive. Nothing came easy for me. I won't say my whole life was a struggle, but there's always been challenges and obstacles to get through. I mean, I've been in and out of jail, and my freedom ripped away from me. But that's all in the past. You ask me today, I'm a success. See, success is achieving anything you put your mind to. It could be anything. For me, being successful now means living a comfortable lifestyle. One where I'm not worried about where the next rent check comes from, or where my next meal is going to be at, or where I lay my head down to sleep at night, because I finally got my own place. And let me tell you, there is no better feeling in this world than to have something you can truly call your own, no matter what it is. Yeah, I've been pushing this long, and believe me, I'm not stopping now. Because as long as I'm alive, I will be a success. So, I'll ask you again. To be aware is to be what?
Alive.
Hey, say it with me. Alive.
You gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. I'm a Chicago boy, born and bred on the west side. I grew up in a traditional family, mom and dad, two older brothers. Nothing unusual about that. Till one day when all of that changed and one of my brothers died. Killed in Vietnam. And then my mom died when I was 17. So much for the traditional happy family story, no more leave it to beaver for us. So I headed out to Florida and moved to the Everglades. Alligators didn't scare me, not after what I'd been through. I worked a bunch of odd jobs down there. Sometimes I had money, sometimes I didn't, but I survived. Barely. And then this really nice family noticed me and my situation, and they invited me in. Oh, it was so good. And then they died. Yep. Had a lot of deaths surrounding me at a young age, and it wears on you. It wears you out, and that's really all I want to say about that. I started gambling. Remember when Illinois began the lottery back in the 70s? Yeah, that's when I got hooked. I went from spending a few dollars a week on scratch-offs to spending all my time and all my money in casinos. Slot machines, dice, and cards. You ever watch poker on TV? Huh? Yeah, they make it look so easy, don't they? They don't tell you about the losing. They don't tell you about the grind of gambling. They never tell you about how hard a life it is, and they sure as hell don't tell you about going broke. See, there were nights I would win $10,000. Yeah. But there were more nights I would lose that much. It didn't really matter to me because I loved the action. You know, I needed the action. It got in my blood. So I ended up living in my car. I was spending whatever money I had as soon as I got it. Always broke. Always struggling. It was no way to live. But I figured I'd always live like that. I figured I'd probably die like that. And then a good friend said, you know, you really don't have to go on living like this. You should call LPCS. Sorry. Well, it took a lot of convincing, but I finally made the call and went down to LPCS, and they took me right in, and I was sleeping in a bed. I was eating regular meals. I was living more normally than I had in years. I wasn't there that long, just a few months, but it was enough to get my life straightened out. Then they helped me find my own place, and now I live in Uptown. But you know, I go back to LPCS all the time. I take classes there. I'll have dinner there, see the doctors and nurses there, but most importantly, they help me manage my money. If they didn't, I would be right back in the casinos gambling it away. I would. I'd be right back on the street again, living in my car. Because I just love the action. It's in my blood. Just really never goes away.
In Albany, the South Side. You don't really know what it's like until you've lived there. I was good. My friends, my family, my community. But when I was 19, things changed. My cousin was killed, shot in gang violence. That's kind of how it works in parts of Chicago. You live on one street, you're good. You live on one street south, you're not. And my father was scared, and he did what any good father would do. He protected us. And we moved from that street and the threat for a better life at 19. 19. I know, right? I left everything, my friends, community, my house. I still had my family, and I was thankful for that. Employment came quickly too. I found a job at a factory, overnight shift. It worked out at the start, but as a few weeks went by, I realized what I had lost. I had no friends, no hobbies, no sense of community. I guess I was lonely, and it was more powerful than I imagined. And within a few weeks, I realized that I was the new kid on the block with just one friend: alcohol. It provided me with a sense of comfort and happiness that I hadn't known in a long time. It started as 1 or 3 cans a day before work and maybe a couple after, and that lasted until I was 21 and old enough to hit the bars, and boy, did I hit them. 1 or 3 became 8 or 9 every single day. It gave me something to live for, a sense of purpose. Did I have a problem? No, I could stop at any time. And then at 29, things really changed. The only person that I prioritized more than alcohol left me. My dad. He died suddenly, and that was it, just a complete loss of control. I lost my job, and soon after my home, and I went to the streets with the clothes on my back, and I spent a lot of time on North Avenue Beach and in Lincoln Park, and like any other homeless person, I cruised the red and blue lines frequently. Yeah, I became that person you see and ignore. But my break came. LPCS. I met Linda at the Sunday drop-in, and if you know Linda, you know she is one tough cookie, but she knows what's good for you. And February 2018, that's when I got my chance. But I was still drinking, and 3 weeks in, I got into a fight. I was drunk and assaulted a police officer and spent 9 months in Cook County Jail, and I thought, that's it, I'm done, my chance is over. But it wasn't. And I realized when I was in jail that this could be an opportunity. And I stayed in touch with some people at LPCS, including my mentor, Rob. He's been influential in my life, and I accepted that I am an alcoholic, and I needed to do that to move forward with my life. And I got out in early December. And I got a second chance at LPCS. And my mentor, Rob, he also took a chance on me, and he gave me employment at his business. And more importantly, he became my sponsor. December 11th, 2018, my first day of being sober. And I have been sober for 85 days now, and it's a commitment I want to make for the rest of my life. I go to 3 meetings a day, and my 24-hour chip, it's my lifeline. I look at this chip and I think just a few more hours, just a few more seconds until I've been sober another day. LPCS brought me to AA, and it's an amazing network of people. They get what you're going through, and they help the loneliness go away and the light shine through.
My home and my family were one and the same. When I lost my family, I lost my home. My world started crashing down about a year ago when both my parents died. I was living in Georgia and they were in Chicago. I felt so far away and so helpless when it happened. My mom was my best friend, and I felt guilty that I couldn't be there for her. I still haven't forgiven myself for that. I still can't go to her gravesite. When I came back to Chicago, I started suffering from depression. And I isolated myself and disconnected from everything. It was such a shock. I had been so high functioning before. I had an amazing job. I was a contractor with the CDC. When somebody found a disease, I prosecuted and patented. I was working with trademarks in foreign countries. I was doing grant applications with universities. Those were the great years. By the time I got to my first shelter, I gained 100 pounds, and I was diagnosed with diabetes. They didn't have any services for me there, and so I thought I'd go and live with my brother. He became violent. He would take bleach to my clothes and throw them out. And I couldn't find home with other family members. I went to another shelter, and that led me to LPCS. It's so much better here. And they have people who are getting me the services I need. But I never thought my journey to find affordable housing would be this long. It's awful. The waiting lists are so long. You understand, not all homeless people are the same. I don't walk around with lots of bags. I have money. I'm not broke. I just don't have enough money to pay the rent. I have money for food. Those people that you see, the ones that don't have on coats or shoes, they're mostly mentally ill. I mean, I suffer from depression, but I am highly functioning. I just don't have enough money to pay rent. When did Chicago get like this? I mean, who can afford a studio for $1,350? I can't. I can't afford that. The last year has been, it's been pretty rough. But I haven't lost my sense of purpose. I know you're watching over me. And I have something I want to say. Dear Mom, I vow to always carry myself as someone that you would be proud of and to exemplify the best in you. You are a teacher and you love children and you wanted to make a difference in everyone's life. I want to do that. I don't want to think about myself all the time. Mom, I want to adopt a child. I want to create my own family. And I want to rebuild my life. And I will.
My story goes back to the good old days. It was a simpler time. At least it seemed that way then. A lot of people don't remember, but before Chicago started calling its train lines by colors, they had different names. and they stopped at different stations. If you wanted to go to the Cubs game, the A and B train were what was now the Red Line. If you wanted to go to the Cubs game, you would get in the B train, and it would stop at Addison. Back in the old days, the windows in the trains would open. You could pop open a window to get fresh air. The trains ran really close to the sides of buildings, especially around the Sheridan stop where the track curved. You could reach your arm out the side of a window, and you could touch the side of a building. Well, at least you could if you had the nerve to do it. It was dangerous. A lot of boys talked about doing it, but they always chickened out. It turns out they were a lot smarter than me. I doubled down. I stuck my whole head out the window. I thought, how cool would it be to get that close to the side of a building? I didn't count on that stoplight being in the way. Bam. I was in a coma for 3 months. My life has never been the same since that day. A silly, stupid accident disabled me for life. I lived with my mother my whole life. We lived at the Lincoln, Ashland, and Belmont area. I guess they call it West Lakeview now. I worked at a grocery store. I was a bagger. Simple job, simple life, no stress. Just the way I liked it. Then Mom died. I had to find a less expensive place to live. I found an SRO in Lincoln Park on Clark Street. It wasn't the same as being at home, but it was fine. I started having money problems. I started falling behind on my rent. One day I got a 5-day notice from the SRO. I didn't know what that meant. I had no one to ask. I thought they were kicking me out in 5 days. I got scared. I ran. I left all my things in that room. I left before they could kick me out. I moved in with some friends, and they charged more than I was paying at the SRO even. And they made me do all their chores. I did cooking and cleaning, laundry, garbage. You name it, I did it. They took advantage of me, but at least I had a place to sleep. After a year I was done. I'd had enough. I went back to the SRO. I was hoping they might take me back, but it turned out to be better. They called the shelter down the street, LPCS. The case manager told me to come right over. She explained what the program was and what it would be like for me to live there. She told me to be back the next day at 10 a.m. ready to move in. But the question was, what would I do tonight? Where would I stay? I decided to go to a local hospital. I figured that I could at least sleep in the emergency room. But hospitals are noisy. There are gunshots and sick people, people crying and screaming. I was so scared, I never fell asleep. I have never been so happy to see the morning in my entire life. They told me to be there at 10. I got there at 8:30. I was ready to move in. I started settling into life at the shelter, and things were pretty good. I was taking my meds, and my health was getting better, too. During my spare time, I would go for walks in my old neighborhood. It was nice to be close to where I'd grown up. It reminded me of my old life. It was home. One day I walked past the building a few blocks from my childhood home, and it looked really nice. I wondered, could I live there? When I got back to the shelter, I mentioned it to my caseworker. I told her it was my dream home. We checked it out together, and it turns out that it's a senior living facility. You have to be 55 years old or older to live there. That's me. And they can take part of your check for the rent, too. That would work for me, too. I wondered, was I going to be able to live there? Well, it was a couple of months and a lot of paperwork. We got it done. I got to live in my apartment. I got to live my dream. Well, I'll tell you, it's been 1 year now, and my life is great. I have a studio apartment, but it's all mine. I have a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, heat, and a television. Anything else. I have a Target down the street. I like going there. I spend way too much time there. I'm happy. What's really great is back in my old neighborhood. I walk outside, I know where everything is. I walk outside, and I remember the way everything used to be when I was a kid. I walk outside, and I remember my mom. It's good to be home.
There's a diverse group of people at LPCS. Men and women, black and white, different religions, lots of LGBTQ community too. But one thing that's not so diverse is dinner. We eat at 7:30 every night. 34 or so people at 6 tables. And the same people eat at the same table and the same chair every single night. It's pretty strange. Every so often someone will try a different table. They'll usually get a look like,
What are you doing here, man? They're usually back at their old table by the next night. The only time this changes is when one guest moves out and is replaced by a new shelter guest. Usually it's one person, maybe two. But there was this one time when one group left, the new group came in. Lots of changes in relationships, including the dinner tables. My new table mates were a group of men, all of us over 40 years old. Okay, we're all over 50. Let's just leave that. The first few nights, our conversations were sterile. We were trying to feel each other out, trying to get comfortable with each other. By the end of the first week, I was bored. I had enough. I wanted to shake things up. What do you all feel about the new gay bars and restaurants in the neighborhood? Wow. That was a 6.0 earthquake-like shake. Faces turned red, eyes started looking down. The men started talking, and it was effortless. We opened up to each other about our lives and our situations. By the end of the meal, everyone was laughing. We noticed that not only were we a table of old gay men, but that we found each other and we were home. We relished in the comfort of being each other's dinner companion. We relished in our new home. We raised our glasses in a proud toast. Here's to the ladies who love.
When you offer me food and I do not accept, I'm not being rude or ungrateful, I'm just being me. You see, I'm a vegetarian, have been for years, so that triple turkey BLT is just not gonna cut it for me. I want to fulfill your kindness and accept, but how can I when I can't eat that triple turkey BLT? I often think about that food I turned away. Will it go to someone else in need, or will it be tossed aside, just like me? You see, here's the thing, though. I can see it in your eyes. That disheartened look of being let down by me. You think, they can't be that hungry if they don't accept my food. They can't really be homeless, can they? Well, you see, we can, because we are homeless and a vegetarian. Homeless and a vegan. Homeless and have celiac disease, lactose intolerance, diabetes, the list goes on. These are all possible because we are all human. We have ailments and sensitivities and preferences, just like you or you. So, next time you kindly offer someone food and they don't accept, think about that. Think about the why behind the no. Or even consider having a conversation with us. Because honestly, how scary can a conversation about a triple turkey BLT really be?
So you guys heard a lot of stories tonight about recovery, hope, and redemption. They're not all like that. Far from it, actually. That's not my story. I hope it is. I want to get there, but at this point, I'm just not anywhere close. So I'm a California girl, born and raised in San Diego. Sounds a lot nicer than it is. We all don't live at the beach, okay? Now, I'm not complaining. You know, my childhood was good. It was normal. Lots of good moments. I was raised by a single mom. Never knew my dad. I actually had a chance to meet him one time, but it didn't happen. I'm cool with it. My mom was, she was enough of a parent for me. She worked as a civil servant, good government job. Not a ton of money, you know, but it was enough. Every once in a while, we'd hit a snag or there'd be some kind of emergency and things would be tight for a little bit, but we'd always get by. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing different than a lot of folks. I'm sure you guys could tell a lot of the same story, right? Let's be honest. I left school and I got a job, and things went pretty okay for a while. Just living life day to day. And then I got pregnant. Yes, I have a daughter. Didn't know her father for a long time, and having a kid with him was not part of the plan, but it happens. I was prepared to raise a child on my own. My mom did it, so I could do it too. My daughter's father had the same idea. He wanted to raise her on his own, so custody fight. He had the money, he had the connections. I spent all of my time and my energy and my money just fighting him. It was court dates and then delays and then more court dates. Him and his lawyer knew how to work the system better than I did. And after a few years, he won. And he wore me down and he wore me out. I had nothing else to do. Not only did he win sole custody of my daughter, right? He won the right to take her away. Yeah, my baby was gonna be thousands of miles away from me. I was tired, I was depressed, I couldn't work. But I just knew I wanted to be with my daughter. I had to be with her, but I didn't know how. At the time I was living in a small place in San Diego, barely had enough money to pay my rent. Some months I didn't. It seemed like I was always making excuses to my landlord. I actually hid from him a couple times. Yeah. And at the same time, I was trying to figure out how I could get to Illinois so I could see my daughter. I just wanted to hold her. I finally had a little money, so I had a decision to make. I could pay my rent, keep my home, and live a somewhat less than stable lifestyle, or I could buy a plane ticket and go get my daughter. I came to Illinois and it hasn't gone too well for me. I lost my purse, or it was stolen. It had all of the rest of my money, my papers, my IDs. I had nowhere to go. And I lived on the streets for a while. I finally met a woman in a park, and we talked a long time. I told her my story, and she said, me and my boyfriend, we have this room, you can stay there. And I thought, yes, this could be the break that I need. Her boyfriend raped me. And then she told me I couldn't stay there anymore. So back on the streets again. Except this time I was worse than ever. Very, very little hope. I wish I could have called my mom. I know she would have helped me. She would have taken me in. My mom died 2 years ago. One day I ended up at a church. I needed whatever help I could get. Anything at this point would be great. They put me in touch with LPCS, and I know you guys have heard a lot of stories tonight about how the program has really helped people change their lives. And I'm hoping that'll be the case for me. Desperately hoping. I've been there since November. Yeah, November. I'm not sure if I'm going to be one of their success stories. I can't picture it yet. At least I'm being fed, and I have a place to sleep. I'm warm, I'm fed, and I'm safe. There's a lot to be said for that. I don't really know how this is going to end. It's no different than any of us, though, right? The last few years have really taken their toll on me. I'm bruised, and I'm broken, especially emotionally. I know it's gonna take a lot for me to get past this. And we're working on it, but it's a long way to go. Sorry, right, my daughter, that's the reason I came here. She's 6 now, and I still haven't seen her. I don't really know what's gonna happen with that. Not a clue. But what I do know is that little girl is always in my heart. And if you can, please just keep me and her, especially her, in yours.
We might as well get right down to it. I'm an alcoholic. Funny. Someone once asked me, what's the longest you ever been sober? 11 years, I said. From the time I was born until I was 11 years old. I started with my first beer at the age of 12. Been drinking ever since. I guess I'm what you might call a functioning alcoholic. At least at one point in time. Can you believe little old me have been driving a truck for 20 years? But I lost my job. I lost my license. DUI. Making money wasn't really a problem for me. If all else failed, I could make some money playing pool. I was pretty good at it. Don't tell anybody. You know, my son told me that I should move to San Diego. I should live on the beach. I should play pool, making money, and playing with the sailors. Sounds good. But don't tell the sailors. Yeah. My son was one of the real accomplishments in my life. Something I'm really proud of. I raised him alone from the time he was 3 years old. I'm a single mom. He's 40 now. He's on his own. He's doing great. As long as I'm not a burden to him, that's all I care about. So I've been at LPCS for about a year now. Before I was homeless on the streets for 10 years. It feels good to be out of the cold, to be in a bed. What was that? What I want to do for my future. I really don't know. I've made a lot of money in my day. I lived in a lot of fancy homes. I don't need that anymore. Like I said, as long as I'm not a burden to my son.
Hello, my name is Albert, and I'm a proud graduate of Lincoln Park Community Services. You see, before I became a homeless person, I was a teacher in the Chicago Public Schools. I was raising my baby daughter, Alicia, and doing the best I could as a single father. At that time, the No Child Left Behind Act changed the certification requirements for teachers, and if I wanted to keep my job, I needed to stay state certified. Well, as I was in the process of doing that, they cut the program. And as a result, I lost my job and my health insurance. Without a regular income, I had to start making the tough decision of buying food or paying rent. And let me tell you, when you have a child, food comes first. It's too bad my landlord didn't see it that way, because when I got too far behind on rent, he kicked us out. Now, at first we moved in with another family, but they moved out of state. So then we moved in with my sister, but it was crowded, and I felt like I was being a burden. I had other options, but they weren't good for my daughter. So I worked out a plan with my sister that Alicia would move with her, and I would stay with some friends. I thought that this would make things better. I did, but It didn't. You see, in those days, my friends were young and wild, and they drank a lot. The cops were always showing up in my stuff. It was always vanishing. My health was starting to go. Liver disease runs in my family. It wasn't long before I realized I needed to get out. At the time, camping seemed like the best option. Fast forward a bit, and now I'm living with no income. I have no health insurance, and now I'm living with end-stage liver failure. I'm too sick to work, not like there are many jobs anyway. People were being evicted all over the place. That's when I found an empty house. Sure, it had no heat, no water, or electricity, but it kept the rain off and it was safer than sleeping outside. A little bit of shelter got me through the pain of what my life had become. I kept in touch with my daughter, but I wasn't sure whether it made a difference if she saw me or not. Then, one day when I was out, my building catches fire. I was literally left with nothing. I'm lucky I had some friends checking in on me, telling me I wasn't looking so great, you know. See, at that time, my eyes were nearly orange. I had these big, weird bruises all over my body. So they took me to the hospital where they were able to stabilize me. And they got me into Interfaith House, which is a shelter on the west side. That shelter specializes in homeless people with medical issues. I'm lucky they were able to get me on Social Security, but they couldn't get me into an apartment, and they have a limit on how long you can stay in the program. That's when I heard about LPCS. So I decided to start attending the community engagement programs, and I made a few connections with the staff, and I got on the wait list. Meanwhile, bouncing from shelter to shelter. It took 3.5 months, but I got in. The first few weeks, oh gosh, a bit of an adjustment, but then I realized I was being welcomed into a community. It was a clean and healthy space. It was a safe space in a good neighborhood. There are so many shelters located in places you would never feel safe. I met good and caring people like Aaron and Betsy. I made friends. I made good friends. That's where I met Ziggy, and he's the best friend I've ever had. It's thanks to the love and support, along with the classes and the workshops, that I was able to regain my self-esteem. I became confident that not only would I be able to regain housing someday, but I would be able to give back to the community that had given so much to me. After about a year, Ziggy and I were placed in affordable apartments on the north side. I am so grateful to the staff and volunteers that believed in me and helped me believe in myself. The volunteers, oh, they're the backbone of this place. Without them, we'd have to close our doors. Even after moving out, I stayed connected, but now I was in a position to give something back. I became a mentor in the graduate community, and I started to mentor current residents. I became an activist, advocating for homelessness through direct action and speaking engagements. I never got healthy enough to go back to work full-time, but I did get an after-school job as a part-time tutor. And I started doing magic at children's parties. I always loved kids, and I always liked having fun. You see, that's what I try to bring to the guests of LPCS, is to let them know that it's okay to have a little fun, even if you're dealing with housing issues, or debt, or homelessness. It's okay to have a little fun, because no matter how bad things get, there's always hope.
I've lived high, and I've lived low. I became homeless because the place I was staying at, they were going to sell it and do something, so everyone had to kind of move. So I was stuck. I couldn't find a place. Back then, there was no shelters at the time unless you went way downtown. So I spent 3 years living a very interesting life I led, living in a small little park. This was Little Lincoln Central Park, and they had the most comfortable benches. No, I was very fortunate. It was a very good area, very, very low crime. But also I stayed there because I knew people around and I always felt safe. I had security.
I was very fortunate that the people I ran into were always there for me, would always look out for me. But that's the thing about being homeless. You're not as lonesome as people think you are. I've always had a guardian angel, so to speak. Why? I don't know, but that's the way it was. If anyone would ever come along that would do me any harm, there'd always be somebody there who would. There was this ex-boxer, and he was going to take on the party that was going to give me a hard time. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and he was this big bruiser. Nobody wanted to fool around with him. And any time that anybody came along to do me any harm, he'd show up and nobody caused me any trouble. The people I met on the street were the best of people. I can truly say that. Well, to this day, I still run into them. Some have gotten better able in life and some haven't, but I was always surprised that the people I ran into were just down on their luck, and they just needed a helping hand for a few minutes or a few days or whatever to get them back on the good track. Well, so then eventually a friend of mine bicycled through my park and told me that they were setting up a shelter down the street, and why don't I check them out? So I was with LPCS for about a year, and then they found me this shelter, this residence where I'm staying now available. That was the best thing they could possibly do for me. Yes, I've had a lot of angels in my life. Oh, well then, a couple years ago, I ran into the boxer. And, we didn't have any money. We were all broke on the street, no jobs. But at the time, I did have a little money, and I said to him, come on, let's go have coffee. I'll treat you to coffee. But that's the way the homeless do. It was the least I could do.
My name is Caleb, but everyone calls me Biggie, and I play professional basketball. However, if you knew me 10 years ago, you would have thought I had a better chance of being dead than playing in the NBA. But sometimes, all you really need is just one person who's there, who's willing to help out. I had a pretty rough childhood growing up. My dad was a crack addict and always in some type of trouble. He was always in and out of jail. And when he was home, he was just abusive to my mom. And my mom had the burden of raising me and my 5 siblings. I can just imagine how overwhelming that was for her. Back then, we moved a lot. We lived in Indiana, we moved to Utah, we moved to Texas. Just constant back and forth. Never really had a stable home. In fact, I went to 13 different schools by the time I was 13 years old. And then, when we didn't have a home, there was a shelter. I think we were probably at 5 different shelters, but I lost count. And when you're in a situation like that, and you don't have much money, it's hard to eat healthy. It's cheaper to buy junk food. But hey, as a kid, I didn't care because I loved the junk food. In fact, I loved it so much that by the time I was in 8th grade, I was 6 feet 2 inches, and I weighed 360 pounds. So yeah, remember my nickname. They call me Biggie. But this is where everything started to change. Now my mom was moving again, and my family didn't think it was a good idea for me to go with them. So my brother, he still kept in touch with his former basketball coach, and he reached out to him. He was wondering if he'd be willing to take me in. And surprisingly, he was. So I moved in with Mr. Barnes. And so when I moved in with him, I told him that I was interested in playing basketball. And he told me that if I was serious about it, that he would train me. And let me tell you, he put me through a professional workout routine. I mean, after all, he knows a little bit about sports. He actually played in the NFL. I mean, you can't ask for a better role model than that. Not just that, but he changed my entire diet. I mean, by the time I was a senior in high school, I had now dropped 100 pounds, so I was a 260. And then it turns out I was pretty good at this basketball thing. My senior year, we won state championship. I was named Indiana's Mr. Basketball and a McDonald's All-American. I mean, that's quite an honor for somebody who spent most of his childhood eating most of his meals there. And so after college, I decided I wanted to go to Purdue. It's the same school my dad went to. There, we won the Big Ten championship my sophomore year, and I was named Conference Player of the Year. And from there on, I was off to the NBA. I first started with Portland and then Sacramento. I mean, but like I said, 10 years ago, and who would have thought this would be possible? I still remember, I look back to the years where we had struggle. I remember all the moving. I remember the lack of money. And it's good not to forget because it makes me grateful for the good things in life. I mean, sometimes all it takes is just one person. Sometimes all you need is just that one person who's willing to help.
Winter in Chicago. Not too bad so far, but that could change at any time. After all, it's winter in Chicago. My life is what you'd call normal. I get up each morning and head to work, like most of you. As I drive toward the Dan Ryan Expressway, I always pass this one block with a group of tents. I found out it's a homeless camp at the corner of Roosevelt Road and Des Plaines Avenue. They call it Tent City. I wonder how they handle winter. It's Tuesday night. I'm home from work. It's getting bad out. The weather is turning. It's getting cold. Really cold. Historically cold. Tom Skilling says to stay inside. Looks like I'm going to be here for a couple of days. Work is closed tomorrow and Thursday. Everything else is closed too. Looks like we're going to be here for the next few days. We have enough food and supplies for the next few days. We have enough of everything. I drove past Tent City tonight. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder how they can survive this. I can't stop thinking about that homeless camp. I can't stop worrying about them. What can we do to keep them safe? Is there a way to get them off the street? Is there a place for them to go? Do you think a hotel would take them in? How much will it cost? If we get this done, will the residents of Tent City go? I started calling hotels and motels. I kept hearing no. Not enough rooms. Not enough vacancies. I tried Amber Inn. It's a motel in the Bronzeville neighborhood. Yes, we have rooms. $70 a night. Can I get 20 rooms for 2 nights? Yes. Can I put it on my American Express? Yes. Done. It was a great start. Apparently, word spread. My husband and our friends wanted to get involved. We were able to get 60 rooms for 4 nights.
Wow.
That's 120 people off the street. That's 120 people out of the cold. That's a lot of lives that might have been saved. Now I know that it's starting to sound like I'm making this about me,
29 years old, local kid, Chicago South Side with the King's High School, college in Champaign, University of Illinois, ILL. Okay then. And I have a different kind of job. I play football on Sundays for the Kansas City Chiefs National Football League. Offensive line. Come on, look at me. Would you think I was the quarterback? So, January 12th, I'm driving to the stadium. It's the playoffs versus the Indianapolis Colts. There's snow, there's sleet, nothing we haven't seen before. It's winter in Kansas City. But this time it's different. I hit a sleek spot on the road. The car starts spinning. I land into a ditch. It's not just me. There's 5 or 6 others, and I start to wonder, am I ever going to make it to the game?
Hey everyone, I'm Dave. I got a story to tell too, but I'll keep it quick, I promise. I'm homeless. Is that quick enough for you? Seriously, my story's not much different than any other homeless person's. Look, I got mixed up in drugs and alcohol. I made some bad decisions. I got in legal trouble, ended up in jail. But that's behind us. The problem is now that I haven't worked in a while. See, I'm a handyman. I like odd jobs. A jack of all trades, that kind of thing. Problem is it's hard enough finding work these days, let alone steady work, so. No job means no money. No money means no place to stay. Yeah, I'm living in my car. It's a 1995 Suburban. I know, it's not much, but it's all I got. Oh yeah, there's also Jess. She's my fiance. She lives in the car with me. Yeah, she's the best thing in my life. I love her a lot. But anyway, it's a snowy Saturday afternoon. Jess and I were driving around, nowhere to go. Off to the side of the highway, we see some cars. Looks like they're stuck. Maybe I can help. I think I can help. So we turn around, drive up to the cars. It looks like about 5 of them. I have an idea. I say, look, I got some chains in the back. I'll tie us up. I'll stay in the lead. Kind of work the gas, see if we can pull you out of this ditch. It might just work. I think it could work.
Whew. Alright, so I made it to the game. What a day. We beat the Colts 31-13. Going to the AFC Championships. I don't know who we're playing, but if it's any bet of mine, it's going to be New England. Those damn Patriots again, damn Tom Brady again. I wonder what happened to that guy who pulled us out of the ditch. I wanted to thank him. I got his name. It was Dave. Dave something. I was in such a hurry. I want to do something, but there's no way to contact him. Twitter. Twitter. How's this? My car got stuck in a ditch, and a nice guy pulled me out without knowing I was a player. I want to give him tickets to the AFC Championship games to thank him, but I don't know how to contact him. He drove a black 97 or 98 Suburban. Maybe that'll help. Maybe somebody knows Dave.
Can you believe this? I'm at the Chiefs championship game. What? Turns out one of those guys I pulled out of the ditch, he plays for the Chiefs. Man, and he found me on Twitter, of all things. And y'all say social media sucks.
Can you believe this? I found Dave through Twitter, of all things. And you guys say social media sucks. I thanked him. I offered him tickets to the game. He said it wasn't necessary. I told him I was happy to do it, happy to pay it forward. This is how you're supposed to live your lives.
Jeff gave us 3 tickets to the game. I mean, come on. We had no expectations for helping them out, but we appreciate it so much. I'm here with Jessica and her sister. We're the hugest Chiefs fans. This is our first time at Arrowhead Stadium.
Dave's really excited to be at the game. Is his first time at the Arrowhead Stadium. I hope he's having a great time.
Yeah, it's cold, but let me tell you again, we're at the Chiefs championship game against New England, against Tom Brady.
Oh, man. The game just went into overtime.
Oh, the Patriots just won.
They're going to the Super Bowl. Again. That damn Tom Brady. Again.
Maybe next year. I feel bad for Jeff. I hope he's okay.
Maybe next year. I hope Dave is okay.
That's my trophy. Look how shiny it is. I polish it. You have to keep the glass nice and clean. It's for Volunteer of the Year. I'm so proud. I'll tell you more about it later. A little bit about me. I grew up in the North Burbs. I went to college at Roosevelt downtown. I have a degree in business administration. My parents passed away a long time ago. I have a younger sister. We don't talk anymore. We're estranged. It happens. I have a younger brother too. He lives with his partner in Indiana. I admit I didn't see that one coming. It took me some time to get used to that and accept that, but all is good. We're good now. I met my husband on a blind date. One of my former bosses set us up. It seemed strange at the time, but whatever works, right? The date lasted for hours. It would have gone on longer, but we both had work the next day. 4 days after that meeting, his dad died. I helped him grieve. I was there to support him. I had some grieving of my own to do. We just held each other and cried, and we were screaming together and holding each other, screaming at our losses. We've been together ever since. 26 years, married for 24. It's been far from an easy life, but we're together forever. Our life took a big downturn in 2012. My husband had trouble keeping a job. We called it the Job of the Month Club. I had a steady job, but then my company decided to relocate. I would have gone with them, but they didn't offer me relocation money, and I wasn't guaranteed a job when I got there. So they did offer a severance package. We took that. That, along with unemployment insurance, we were okay. We were okay until we weren't, until the money ran out. We ended up in a homeless shelter. It wasn't good. They had triple bunk beds, one on top of another, on top of another. You'd have to see it to believe it. We were there for a year. Then it was on to another shelter, and another shelter, and another shelter. 4 years of living in shelters. So many shelters. I lost track of the number. In the meantime, my husband was having health problems. Our situation wasn't good. It was getting desperate. Then, I found LPCS. I had lost all confidence in myself. But they took me and they built me back up.
new family. I had weekly meetings with my case manager. Nowhere else did that happen. You were lucky to see someone once a month. Here, he was helping me with my housing and some of my other problems. And he was following up. If one thing didn't work, he had ideas on trying something else different. I was only there for 4 months, but that time it made me whole again. I was getting back to being myself. Things are better now. I'm in senior housing. I have my own apartment. Finally, a place I call my own. Life isn't perfect. It never is. My husband still has health issues, but we're dealing with it. And I'm thankful for what we have. A trophy. Didn't forget about it. So, I loved being at LPCS. I missed the people there, and I wanted to give back. So I started to volunteer. You can usually find me at the front desk. I answer the phone, I let people in the building. On Saturdays, I'm the overnight volunteer. I'm the one they go to in case someone needs something in the middle of the night. Plus, it makes it easy to just walk up the stairs to go to church on Sunday morning. And for doing that, they gave me this award. I'm the shelter volunteer of the year. Who could have seen that when we moved into our first shelter all those years ago? Like, look at this. It's so shiny.
I'm moving on up to the east side. It's 2013, I'm moving to Lincoln Park. Not to a deluxe apartment in the sky. I'm moving to a church. Actually, it's the basement in the church. Actually, it's a homeless shelter with 34 others. I was not getting my piece of the pie. I looked at LPCS for about a year and a half. It wasn't easy at first. Anytime you're living with 30 or so strangers, it's not going to be easy. I guess it's not supposed to be. If it was, you'd live there forever. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in Lincoln Park, right? But the hard living gives you some urgency to get your life together, so that's what I did. I figured out some health issues, both mental and physical, and I figured out some money issues. I got my life together and I moved on. That's how it's supposed to work. I've been on my own for more than 4 years now. I'm still involved at LPCS. I've taught a couple classes there. It was fun, and I learned a lot while doing it. I may have gotten more out of it than the students. It helps you to remember the tough times and be thankful for what you have. That's always a good thing. So last summer, I get this email from the shelter. Would I like to have lunch with Cubs catcher Wilson Contreras? I'm a big Cubs fan. I can do that. Me, Wilco. Not the band, but if you guys can ever get Tweety over at the shelter, I'm there too. Me, Wilco, and some food. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? It turned out it was me, Wilco, and 50 others eating hot dogs. I know, that gratitude thing, right? 2 days later, I get a call from LPCS. I'm assuming they want somebody to stay overnight. I really don't want to do that, so I did what we all do. Voicemail. I checked the message. It's from Dan, the head of the shelter. Turns out LPCS and the Cubs are doing a promotion. They want to know if I want to throw out the first pitch at Sunday's game. That is a lot better than staying overnight. Being homeless is about to pay off. And here's the thing. It's not as easy as you think. It's 5 days of stressing over things, and I really need to get ready. So first I went to a game to see how this thing worked. It turned out it was pediatric cancer night at Wrigley Field. Throwing out the first pitch was a 10-year-old cancer survivor. She threw a fastball over the middle of the played. Fans were cheering and crying. It really was moving. How can I top that? Do you remember that gratitude thing? It's a couple of days before the game, and I'm really stressing big time. I haven't thrown a ball in a long time. I don't want to embarrass myself or hurt anybody. A friend calls and she tells me that she's sending over Los Angeles Dodger legend Sandy Koufax to help me out. Cool. I love Sandy, but the dude is 82 years old. He's had an arthritic left elbow for more than 50 years, and whenever he throws out the first pitch at Dodgers games, it's from 10 feet away. Right. Game time's here, and if you're part of the festivities, the Cubs want you at the park 2 hours early. 2 hours in 95-degree heat. But the good news is they feed you. Have you ever had lamb chops and scallops at the ballgame? I have. After lunch, you go down to the field and they explain what's going to happen. And they give you this jersey. It's this one here. It has my name and the number 18 on the back. I asked if it was for Ben Zobrist. They said it's so years from now, I couldn't remember the year that it actually happened. I said, is that why my name is on the back of the jersey too? It's go time. I hear my name on the speaker. I'm jogging out to the mound. I wave to the crowd. I look like I'm in control. In my head, I'm thinking, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, don't mess this up, and I'm not using the word mess. I've got the ball. I'm standing on the pitching rubber. I look into the catcher. Fastball? Curve? Change? And just wing it and we'll hope for the best. I toss the ball toward home plate and it gets there. On one little hop. It's not the worst outcome. No embarrassment, no injuries. Maybe I should call Koufax and see if he needs some help throwing out the first pitch the next day. 5 days of stress for less than 30 seconds of fame. Welcome to my life. Seriously, I'm grateful I had the opportunity to do this. I finally got my piece of the pie.
How you doing? Having a good time tonight? Woo! Good. Good. I'm glad to be here tonight. So, my name's Dan Almer. I don't have too much time. I gotta get home and see my kids before they get to bed. I've been known to stay talking too long. It's not you, it's me. So, I guess the best place to start is back when my mom got real sick and needed care around the clock. We couldn't afford a stay-at-home nurse, or whatever you call them, so I moved in with her into the house I grew up in, actually, to help care for her. And that was tough. She eventually passed, and that was tough too. Mom, you know? I had a lot of trouble dealing with that, or didn't rather. I knew exactly how to deal with it. Started drinking more. And then I started using drugs, and then I started using drugs more. And then I started drinking and using drugs even more. You see where this is going. And it helped, man. It did the trick, I tell you. But it turned into something I couldn't pull myself out of. Now, I was still living at my mom's house at this point. But eventually, me and my brothers decided to sell it, and then I just started bouncing between friends' houses and the streets. I found myself in and out of a bunch of rehab programs, and I always ended up back with the same old friends, drinking and drugging. What do they say? Hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get your hair cut. That was me, boy, I tell you. I just couldn't stop. Just couldn't stop. Anyways, I found myself back in rehab one more time, but after this one, for whatever reason, me and a buddy decided to try and not go back out there, not go back to that barber shop. Had enough haircuts at that point. And my buddy had heard something about this place called the Lincoln Park Community Services. He said apparently it was one of the best shelters in the city. I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. So we go, and I get in with this intake lottery they had back then. So great, I'm in a shelter now, all's good, end of story, right? No. My first week there, I hear from an ex-girlfriend of mine that I got a baby, and she's a preemie by several months, and she's not even going to take care of her, walks right out of the hospital. Little Jennifer. So immediately I'm like, I got to get custody of her. Now I'm at my first week at a shelter, I think 3 weeks sober at that point. No job, no place of my own, nothing. And I'm not even on the birth certificate. So I got to prove that before anything, which I did. But everything else, no idea what to do. None. But I had to do something. So I walked right into that office at that shelter, went right up to Erin, who was working there at the time, and said, I need help. And she looked up from whatever she was doing and said, of course we'll help you. And then went back to whatever she was doing. And I said, no. And I put my hands on her desk and I said, I need real help. And that was all it took. We went right to work, but there was a lot to do. I had to show to the courts, to the world, and to myself that I could stay sober, earn a living, and provide a home for my baby girl. Now, I was already going to AA, had a great sponsor at that point, and then started going to an outpatient program, so that was all good. But I couldn't stay at the shelter with a baby. And most shelters will only take women and children, so I needed a place of my own. But I didn't have any money for a place of my own, so I needed a job to make the money for a place of my own. Now, I worked in construction, but after years of doing that, my knees are pretty jacked up, and I ended up needing both replaced before I could do that kind of work again. So it was a bit of a, well, those were some uncertain times, man, but I wasn't looking to fail. So I just took on a bunch of cash-paying jobs, all kinds of stuff, and passing out flyers for businesses. You know the guys I'm talking about, standing on street corners? That was me. Might have even handed one of you one. So I just kept doing all those things, man. Going to meetings, outpatient, going to work, going to see little Jennifer in the hospital as much as possible. Kept at it, kept at it, kept at it. And LPCS was there every step of the way to help me do it. They even helped me get charity care for my knee surgery. Once I did that, was healthy enough and had some cash saved up, man, I just took off running. Contracted myself out for small reno jobs and building a good customer base. Finally, I was able to move out of the shelter into my own apartment along with two other knuckleheads, Mark and Mark. Eventually, I was able to move out of the shelter. After months of supervised visits, I finally won full custody and was able to bring her home for good. 3 men and a little baby. I don't know how we did that, but we did. I eventually built up my own construction business and even done volunteer jobs over at the shelter. Now, remember when I had that knee surgery? Well, I had to have PT on those new knees, and I had to have a therapist to help me do that. Well, that therapist married me in 2007. Tracy. Not long after, we bought a house in Orland Park. Still live there today. We quickly got busy, and in a little while added 2 more to our clan. And little Jennifer will turn 13 in June.
I've had a lot of good fortune since the day I walked into that office and asked for help. And I owe it all to AA, my sponsor, and to all those amazing, amazing folks over at LBCS. I just wouldn't be where I am today. They saved my life and gave Jennifer a chance at a better one. And now I get to give back. I get to lead recovery groups for guests. I even get to hire some of them to work on my job sites now. This place has been such a gift to me and my family, such a gift. I'll never be able to repay them, but at least I get to try. I think that's all I got. And my kids are still awake. Thanks so much for having me.
Joining us tonight. My name is Rodrigo Carrillo, and I'm the Executive Director of Lincoln Park Community Services. What an exciting time for us. But before I get into that, I would like to thank a few people that made this night possible. So please hold your applause, because there's a lot of people I want to thank really quick. First, Lauren Hahn, who is a visionary of this evening's show and is also a member of LPCS's Associate Board. Also, Harash Gagumal, our director of the show, and also a member of the Associate Board, and Howard Moore, who was at the Cubs game. Not only is he the head writer of the show, he's also a graduate. To all the talented actors, guests, and graduates who shared their stories, thank you for inviting us into your world and letting us catch a glimpse of your challenges and accomplishments. To the Goodman Theater, who generously donated this amazing space, thank you. We also want to thank our generous sponsors, Giovanni Leopoldi of Property Consultants, and the Gunderson Law Firm, as well as our in-kind sponsors, Mars Wrigley Confectionery for the sweet treats, Fox Water, Tiesta Tea, and also thank the Associate Board for this amazing event. Also, our guest photographer, DC Herman Photo, and I'd like to thank our staff for helping to bring the mission to life. Can you give all these people a huge round of applause?